Chapter 15. He was not alone in this. Mr. Hodgson, the scrap iron merchant who had been dying for a slash and had been the recipient of one of Major Featherington's specials, was still incapable of doing more than scribble that he'd been the victim of an attack by one of those damned foreigners, and the sooner he got home to Huddersfield, the safer he'd feel. Dmitri Abnikov's opinion, also given in writing, was that a deliberate attempt had been made by a CIA hit team to silence the Soviet delegate, and was a violation of the UN Charter and the Helsinki Agreement as regards the freedom of speech. Signor Badiglione, having been subjected to Dr. Keister's clinical approach to what she called reciprocated sensuality, and he didn't, wasn't prepared to say anything. And Sir Arnold Bryme preferred not to. Professor Zukash had been too engaged in a polemic with the Mexican delegate on the question of Trotsky's murder and the failure of the Mexican government to collectivize farms it had already distributed to the peasants to remember anything so contemporary as his encounter with Peregrine. Finally, Mrs. de Shoringnote, he fell asleep. Deirdre, Comtesse de Montcalm, never slept in the chateau during the holiday season. She would never have slept there at any other time if she could have helped, but during the summer she had her anonymity to think about, and besides, by staying the night in Boussard, she was sure of getting the best vegetables in the market and the finest cuts of meat at the butcher. Nobody at the Chateau Carmagnac could complain that the cuisine wasn't excellent or the service poor, nor would they know that the expert cook was a countess. More importantly, no one would suspect that the woman who drove up in the Renault van each morning and spent the day scurrying about the kitchen and shouting orders to the other servants was English, or that her greatest ambition was to retire to an even greater anonymity in her London Regis. Above all, they must not know that she had a past. Born Constance Sugg of 421 Selsdon Avenue, Croydon, she had risen by a series of changed identities and useful adulteries to her present title. In fact, it could be truthfully said that she had a great many pasts. She had been Miss Croydon at 17, a starlet in Hollywood at 19, a masseuse in an extremely dubious parlor in San Francisco at the age of 22, a hostess at a dude ranch 3 years later, and for 10 years the wife of Siskin J. Wanderby. By then, Wanderby, a man